So we just had oral arguments in King versus Burwell, which is a huge challenge to the Affordable Care Act. If the government gets ruled against, it could be really bad for Obamacare. The justices were asking about a lot of issues we didn't expect them to, and so that made it a really interesting morning. Justice Anthony Kennedy asked a really interesting question about constitutionality. Basically, he's worried that the people challenging Obamacare, that their reading of the Affordable Care Act would allow the federal government to coerce states in some ways he wouldn't like. Kennedy's question was read as good news for the Obama administration. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she also asked a very surprising question, whether the plaintiffs had standing in the case, if they'd actually been harmed by the law, if they could bring this case to the Supreme Court in the first place, which is something that none of the lower courts have really asked at all. So that was a big surprise. And then we got a smaller surprise from Justice Alito, who was suggesting the idea, if the Supreme Court does rule against Obamacare, they might allow the subsidies to go for the entire year so people don't lose coverage in the middle of the year. So those were the three really big surprises. We don't know how this case is going to go. Justice Roberts did not ask a single question. He's a really important swing vote. So without hearing from him, reading the tea leaves on this case, it's pretty difficult, and we're stuck waiting until June to get a decision. The decision is going to be really, really important. What's at stake here are subsidies for millions and millions of Obamacare enrollees. This is the president's signature legislative accomplishment. If the Supreme Court does rule against Obamacare, it really does dismantle the law in most of the country, and both the White House and congressional Republicans don't have a plan right now to fix that.